hassle to not care about the news in an age of news saturation? All of this stuff, headlines, 24 hours a day, streamed directly into your consciousness through a device in your pocket. You know, a lot of what we've spoken about today is freedom from having to think about things or care about things that you do not have control over, or that you shouldn't, or that you don't want to. And yet people are just like submerged up to the bottom of their nostrils, basically drowning in worry. So how, is it a battle to sort of stay out of the news when you're saturated in it?
Yeah. I mean, as you're saying, the human brain is not evolved to handle all the world's emergencies breaking in real time. And you can't care about everything, and you'll go insane if you try. Doesn't mean you shouldn't care at all. There's no should. I mean, if you want to care, go ahead and care. I would just say that you're probably better off only caring about things that are local or things that you can affect. So if you really care about something that's in the news, then by all means care about it, but make a difference. Go do something about it, and make sure that it's your overwhelming desire and you don't have 5 other desires at the same time. Also just realize the consequences of it. You're going to be unhappy until that thing gets fixed, and that thing will often be out of your control.
Desire is a contract to be unhappy until you get what you want. But
exactly,
for the most part, that's something that is in your life. It's like, till I lose the weight, until I get the job.
It can be outside too.
If it's until the carbon dioxide parts per million are below this particular number, it's like, that's a
tough one.
Yeah.
Or all the people with Trump derangement syndrome, right? He's living rent free in their heads and driving them insane. And I get it. I mean, there are politicians who have definitely driven me insane as well. But it comes at a very high cost, and it's something that is out of your control that you cannot really influence. So it's probably good to at least be conscious of it.
You mentioned historians before. One of my friends has a question, his equivalent of Peter Thiel's question of what is it that you believe that most people would disagree with? His is, what do you think is currently ignored by the media but will be studied by historians?
You're asking me that question right now? What do I think is ignored by the media but will be studied by historians? Well, I mean, the media is only focused on very timely things, right? So it depends if you want to talk about timely or timeless, right? But as a simple example, if I just look at things that maybe the next 5 or 10 years that are going to make a massive difference that people are not focused enough on, and I think within 2 years this will be obvious. So like I'm making a prediction, and predictions are tough. But
you're going to have to eat it in a few years.
Yeah, I'm going to have to eat this in a few years. So I'm probably wrong. But 2 things that I pay attention to that I don't think a lot of people do pay attention to. Well, there's a couple. One is, I think, just how bad modern medicine is. I think people just put a lot more faith in modern medicine than is warranted. Like, our best ideas for a lot of things are surgery, just cutting things out, right? Treating things that are extraneous, like, oh, you don't really need a gallbladder, you don't really need an appendix, or you don't really need tonsils. Oh, that's false.
Surplus requirement.
Human body is very, very efficient. All those things are needed. So I think the state of modern medicine is still pretty bad. We don't have many good explanatory theories in biology. We have germ theory disease. We have evolution, we have cell theory, we have DNA genetics, morphogenesis, embryogenesis, and not much else. There's not much else. Everything else is rules of thumb, memorization. A affects B because affects C affects D, but we don't understand the underlying explanation. It's all just words pointing to words pointing to words. So biology is still in a very sorry state, and because we are not allowed to take risk that might kill people, we just don't experiment enough in biology. So a lot of treatments are just outright banned by large regulatory bodies. So we just don't have the innovation. So I think we're still in the Stone Age when it comes to biology, and we got a long ways to go. And I think people will look back aghast at this. And I think this is Brian Johnson's point. He's like, let's be more extreme. Let's try to live forever.
Experimental.
Let's be more experimental. And I'll start as N of 1 and start experimenting on myself. And but even there, I disagree with Brian on many things, like, taking huge amounts of supplements. I think we just don't know supplements outside of their natural context. Like, just eat liver, man. Right? But it's fine. And I wouldn't be vegan either. But, I really appreciate that he's experimenting. He's good natured about it. He shares everything. So we need more people like that. So I think the state of biology, people will look back and say, wow, that was in the dark ages. I think, another another thing that we'll look back on is I think we still continue to underestimate how important drones are going to be in warfare. The future of all warfare is drones. There will be nothing else on the battlefield, because I think of the end state of drones as autonomous bullets, not even guided, autonomous, like they're self-directed. And so if that's the future we're headed towards, and it is dystopian.
Why would you have an armed force
There's going to be there's going to be no aircraft carriers, there's going to be no tanks, there's going to be no infantrymen. There's just going to be autonomous bullets. By autonomous bullets against your autonomous bullets, whichever ones win, the other side just surrenders, gets over. I think that's the second piece of it. I think a third piece that is going to be kind of unexpected is the GLP-1s, which I know you and I privately discussed before. I think these are the most breakthrough drugs since antibiotics. They're probably more important than statins. They're sort of miracle drugs. They seem to, there are downsides, but the downsides and side effects are so minor compared to the upsides beyond just weight loss. They also seem to be addiction breakers. They seem to lower many kinds of cancer. They almost metabolically reverse aging up to a certain point. And I think they're going to bend the curve on healthcare costs. And the big question people are going to be asking over the next 5 years is, why are Americans paying thousands of dollars a month for this when people overseas are getting them for free, or I can order them from China for free or whatever. And maybe like if I were Bernie Sanders, the platform I would be running on is I would say, okay, we're going to pay,
free Ozempic,
hundreds of billions of dollars to Novo and Eli Lilly, and we're just going to make these free. Or there's hundreds of analogs of these things that work. These are not going to be, limited to just the few that are being used today. Just take one of them or two of them, make them free. And I think it'll make a big difference. And as you and I were discussing earlier, this does bend a lot of people out of shape who got there the old-fashioned way, and they want to see obesity as a moral failing on people's parts, and it lowers their status if they are suddenly no longer
the signal is less
one.
Of a signal. Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're incented to say, well, you don't know the downsides. It's irresponsible to suggest it's going to cause cancer. Have fun losing bone and muscle mass. By the way, none of that stuff is really true. The cancer stuff is actually beneficial I know people who are now taking these things for anti-aging reasons. They're already fit, but they just want to age better and have a stronger insulin metabolism. And there's evidence now that these things are, they put off dementia, Alzheimer's, colon cancer. It's insane. Cardiovascular disease, like the list of benefits is insane. There's no free lunch, but this is a class of drugs that prevents you from taking other drugs into your body. It prevents you from taking, too much sugar, too many calories in an era of abundance, prevents you from smoking, prevents you from even, there's an organization called Casper that is now doing a study on heroin addictions, and they're showing that this can lower opioid overdoses and heroin addiction. So there's a lot of overwhelming medical evidence coming out. And I think, I don't know the exact number, but I think something like 10% of the population might now have tried these things.
I think that's the number that it's seen as well.
Yeah, it's massive.
So I think it's about 50% of the population say that they would like to try it.
Exactly. So I think the body positivity movement is dead, and we always kind of knew it was a scam.
It's dying very, very quickly.
Yeah, I quipped, like, you can never be too rich, too thin, or too clean. Right. And immediately, like, a whole bunch of people went nonlinear my mention. Like, what do you mean too thin? And what about the hygiene hypothesis? And, obviously there's always exceptions, but people want to be thin and fit, and people want to be clean, back to the pathogen discussion that we had. So I think overall that there's going to be huge demand for these things, and our modern medical system is not built to supply these well. I don't hold it against the pharmas. I think the pharmas did their job by creating the thing. But I think next we need to step up and figure out how to make it broadly and cheaply available, as opposed to just milk it only for people on obesity who can get Medicare to sign off for it, or people paying out of pocket at very, very high prices.
Yeah.
The benefits of societal distribution of the safer GLP-1s is so large that whichever politicians tackles that is going to be richly rewarded.
Well, obesity is the number one source of malnutrition worldwide. There's twice as many people that are obese than are starving. So about 500 million people are starving, and 1 billion
so many
people
problems
are
are downstream of that. Like, look at how much of the federal budget goes into dialysis because of kidney failure. And why is that? It's because of diabetes, right? So many of the problems that we have in modern society are downstream of obesity. And this, like, fitness is so important. And yes, there's, in some people, these things cause muscle and bone loss, but not in the people who are eating high protein and working out hard. So they can be taken in a way that's safer. And some versions of these, like liraglutide, the original one, one. They've been around for decades, and the others have been around for about a decade. So, and we already have, as you said, 10% of the population taking them. So they're already quite widely distributed.
It's a good sample size.
Yeah, it's a great sample size. What more do you need? Like if you have a bacterial infection that's eating you, I don't say, oh, I have this antibiotic, but it's going to raise your blood pressure. It's like, no, take the antibiotic. If you're going to kill yourself, I say, take this antipsychotic and stay alive a little longer and solve it. I don't say, oh, it's going to, cause your heart rate to go up by 3 beats a minute. I don't worry about that. So similarly, if you're poisoning yourself with toxins and overuse of substances that you shouldn't be using, either heroin, alcohol, cigarettes, sugar, or just sheer calories, take this GLP-1.